Welcome to Camelot Equestrian Center, located at 1985 Clark Road in the center of Butte County in gorgeous Butte Valley. Camelot is privately owned and partners with North Valley Animal Disaster Group in Butte County to house the large animal shelter during an animal operation when a disaster is occurring here in Butte County. What we're going to see today is a little portion of the property that's allocated to us with the ability to expand and support a variety of livestock and species. Well, here we are at the Camelot intake table. This is where the key position is for the start of the journey of the animals here at Camelot. This is a place where we document, we identify, and we have those accurate information for both the animal and the owner. We want to make sure that we're getting all the details for that owner while they're displaced from the disaster, so we can make sure that these animals get home safely and comfortably with the owners. As well, it's the first line of defense here for this shelter. We need to make sure that the animal's healthy while it's coming in for both the safety of the animal as well as the other animals here at our shelter. Make sure that we're not exposing anybody, both animal or human alike, to anything that could cause us havoc. So these animals will receive an individual animal ID number that will travel with that animal throughout its stay here at Camelot or any other location that it travels during this disaster. Those animal ID numbers are documented on the master intake form, and that number continues with that animal to the pen to make sure that we have accurate information to make sure that that animal is staying healthy, and we're able to identify what needs that animal has, as well as communicate with the owner as we go through this process. We have a great opportunity here at Camelot that we have these wonderful sheds set up in a permanent location for us that are staged with all the equipment we need to make sure that we're caring for these animals appropriately and effectively per the species. So the key here at Camelot Large Animal Shelter is making sure that we're providing for all the animals. We receive a variety of species, including our goats, sheep, pigs, equine, and cattle. But as well, we receive a lot of different varieties, including zebras, emus, alpacas, guinea hens, and peacocks that we need to make sure that we're providing for them appropriately, housing them, making sure that they're getting the proper care and they're comfortable during their stay here. So along with the shed that's set up with the supplies we need to take care of a wide variety of animals, we additionally have this initial attack trailer that's set up for an on-the-go shelter. So we can pull this out and we can make an initial large animal shelter anywhere here in Butte County or beyond if the need arises for us to have a secondary shelter or one closer to the disaster occurring, or to support and mutual aid for other areas within California or beyond. So at each of the animal operation locations during a disaster, you're going to find an ICS board. That's the incident command structure, and this helps delegate and assign the chain of command as well as the scope of authority to make sure that everybody knows who their boss is and has the ability to work up the chain of command any needs that the facility has, whether it's resources, personnel, or supplies, to make sure that you get what you need to make sure these animals are supported and cared for. So here we are at the Green Barn, which is a great opportunity for us. It's both a covered barn as well as a mostly enclosed area. It contains 20 10x10 stalls, and we have the ability to adapt those stalls as needed for any special animals that we have. Maybe some lambs with ewes, maybe some chickens that need to be out of the cold or the heat. We have that ability to adapt and care for those animals depending upon the species and their needs. So Barn D, we have the ability to adapt as we need it. It's far enough away from our main barns that we have the ability to put fractious animals or maybe stallions that can't be with mares, and we have the ability to biosecure and isolate those animals if there may be a disease or contagious situation that we need to protect. Along with the beautiful scenery out here that helps decrease our stress, both to the staff as well as the animals, we have the ability to adapt as we need it. Right here where I'm standing, we can erect pens to make sure that we're caring for any animals in an overflow capacity, as well as these primary barns that we're calling Barn A, B, and C, which we'll see here in a second. So here we are in Barn A. Barn A has 18 paddocks set up for us and is one of our primary equine housing facilities here at Camelot. And I wanted to take you in a little bit and show you some of the details of the operation on how we keep track of the animals and making sure that they're being cared for appropriately and everything's being documented for identification and safety. So as we talked about, with each individual animal and having an individual ID number, both on the intake as well as on the animal care schedule, this is their daily diary of how things are going for them. This will include both contact information as well as description of the animal, but it also has these details. Details don't just stop at the intake table. These details will include how much food it's eating, how much water it's drinking, as well as how many poop piles there is. As well as the details provided on the animal care schedules, the veterinary staff or the shelter manager will come through on an individual basis and assign a specialized diet for either pre-existing conditions that the animal may have or conditions that are brought on by stress, to make sure that the feeding regimen is consistent and accurate. So here we have a set of Magnum panels that are set up for a kennel for us to house our chickens. It can also house ducks or other aviary type animals that are coming out here to Camelot to get away from the disaster and to be cared for during its time in need. And this just shows the adaptability of Camelot. We have the ability to take a stall or a paddock that was set up for equine, but to transition it into the needs that may arise during a disaster, because you never know what's going to come in. So as we look at our auxiliary barns, barns E, F, and G, we have the ability to house probably immediately or within the 30 minutes it takes to set up over 200 animals in our care with the barns and the paddocks that we have set up. With some ability, as we talked about, to expand or to erect new paddocks to make sure that the animals are comfortable and cared for, the 200 can increase to maybe 300 or 400 pretty rapidly. So with the estimated 200 animals that we would have here at capacity when we set up and open to the public, we would need 34 individuals and volunteers mainly to support the operation every 12 hours. And those 34 individuals would be assigned to shelter manager or a barn lead to make sure that the operations within that barn are being provided appropriately, as well as veterinary staff, including veterinarians and veterinary technicians, to make sure that the animals are healthy on the medical side, as well as the most important is those shelter workers or the aides that are caring for those animals on an individual basis, making sure that they're provided food and water as well as cleaning up their stalls, but additionally enrichment to make sure that these animals are happy and healthy, both physically and emotionally. I just wanted to thank you guys for coming along on the tour of the Camelot Equestrian Center, the North Valley Animal Disaster Group Large Animal Shelter. This is such an amazing opportunity for us to have these permanent paddocks and stalls set up so that we can care for so many animals during a disaster and when they need it most. And it takes people like you guys that are sacrificing your time and energy to care for these animals, and in turn we're caring for the residents of Butte County. And I just can't thank you enough for this wonderful opportunity to talk with you guys and show you this wonderful place, and thank you for your hard work and gracious effort.